This business is like the Wild West. Gold, silver, rare coins, lost treasures of history. You never know what's gonna walk through that door. Oh, whoa!
There's a Civil War sword.
I got robbed at gunpoint.
Watch this.
I'm Evan Kale, and this is Pawn Man. Guys, we have a great episode of Pawn Man in store. Before we get into it, I want to thank our episode sponsor, once again, the good people at Bong Water Beverage Company. Bong Water, I got the little poster right here, is a THC-infused drink designed to hit you fast. It is available gluten-free, sugar-free in Minnesota, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, parts of Texas, parts of Wisconsin. Visit bongwaterbeverageco.com. There's a link in the video description below, and find out if they are coming to a state near you. In my great state of Minnesota, you must be 21 years or older to consume, so have your ID ready if you're going to purchase. I personally get it at Clown Glass in Uptown. I also like the Loon Smoke Shop. With that, we got a great video. Let's get into it. All right, so what are we looking at here?
So I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert, but what I've been told is it's a Type 2 cluster bomb. It's what the Japanese used during World War II. So essentially, you have a bigger bomb that's carried by an aircraft that's full of those that drops them. Some are incendiary, some are, I don't know which type that is. I actually haven't tried to translate it yet, but I bought it off an older woman who it was her father's, and he was part of the European theater, and brought it home.
Europe theater. I wonder how it got up in Europe.
I'm not sure if that's where he acquired it, but she said he was involved in World War II.
I've certainly never seen one before, and like it's like we're like, okay, we sure it's not live?
Yeah.
And then what's this?
So that's a 105 millimeter shell casing. So that's used by us. It's stamped, I think, 1942. They're used in a lot of different things. It doesn't smell too good.
You know, I've done this multiple times and it never ends well when I smell an old item.
And that's been somebody welded the end of it, so it can't be like reactivated. I guess.
Good.
Also, I know I've seen some that are dummies. That one, I believe, with the yellow stripe was a live, real round.
The paint looks authentically real.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, I don't have any reason to believe that this is a counterfeit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a counterfeit cluster bomb. The only problem for me is it's hard to sell for multiple reasons. What's your bottom dollar on
it? Individually or together? Or, I mean, I was hoping to get $400 for the two items today.
What about just for this one?
Gosh, I'd say 300. Like I said, I see them for right around 400 to 500. And the ones I've seen for sale, the Japanese writing on it is a lot more worn off, and they don't have the yellow painted stripe on it either.
I have somebody working for me now. Let me see where he is.
Okay.
Should be here any second. All right. I'll talk in a second. Okay, so he says the shell is really cheap. The shell's worth maybe 25 to 30 bucks. One bomblet just like that from Simpson, a Militaria, sold for 150, but it was a while ago. I'd do 225 on the pair.
240. Make me feel like I won.
Fine. Only because it's really, really interesting. This, you guys, is precisely the kind of stuff I don't want to be buying right now, but this is just so interesting. Well, let's talk about cluster bombs while it's sitting in front of me. Good news is I actually just sold this on Whatnot. I'm surprised I did because I usually don't sell high-end antiques. It ended up going for $400, and the howitzer went for $60. Let's talk a little bit about cluster bombs, because cluster bombs are kind of a cluster. No pun intended, like they're terrible weapons. Cluster bombs are just that. It's a cluster of bombs. It starts out as one big bomb and it opens up to reveal a bunch of these little ones, and it spreads out and it opens as the plane is flying overhead. And so it allows you on the ground to hit a wider variety of targets indiscriminately. You know, it's like carpet bombing. You're bombing everything for a stretch rather than one specific target. It maximizes damage, but it also kills a lot more civilians. A huge problem with these weapons, there are lots of unexploded ones from World War II that are still out there. Now, these weapons were more used by the Germans, which, what does that tell you? The Japanese were more into naval power, biological warfare. These were a lot more, they were not used quite nearly as much as the Germans used them, and it was actually a little hard to find information about the Japanese methodology, how they made them, how many were made, how many are still unexploded. And to this day, they still use cluster bombs. A lot of nations ban them in warfare. The United States is not one of them. There's actually quite a bit of controversy. Recently, the United States gave Ukraine cluster munitions. Now, it's very frowned upon. Like I said, a number of nations don't use these, but I mean, for what they are effective weapons, as terrible as they are. So this relic here is now sold. I mean, this was a very rare and interesting piece, and glad to come across it is the wrong word, I guess. Well, I am glad I have an unexploded one here in my hand that was never used to kill people, and it's a nice preservation of history and all the terrible things that happened in World War II and continue to happen in warfare. Let's take a look.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5.5. Okay. 10, 20.
Can you just go through this?
Yep.
Okay.
I can just go through
Okay,
with a glance.
some of it
Yep.
was like all mixed up and some was separate, so I have no clue.
Okay, so these you can all spend.
Okay.
It's $2 right here.
And what are these? Commemorative
These.
things?
Yep. These are just tokens. This and this you can spend. These are each $1. We're at 125 right now for everything.
You clean me out.
Cool. Yeah.
And then I can.
Simple in and out. Probably make about $40 on it to save. Pretty sure this guy stole this yesterday. I just got an alert. Hi.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing? See that? How long you had that?
Huh?
How long you had that?
2 days. What's going on?
All right. So here's my concern. Is I got this alert yesterday,
About what?
and that looks quite a lot like you.
Yeah, that is me.
Yeah. So I probably got to call the cops.
That's what?
Because this individual, you said that's you. Well, apparently you stole a coin yesterday.
No, I didn't steal nothing. I went and sold a bunch of coins yesterday.
No, this guy's saying you stole a $20 gold piece from him yesterday.
Oh, and all that stuff locked up in cases.
I couldn't tell you, but this is surveillance footage, and this person apparently stole, and you just said that was you.
Yeah, but I didn't steal it. No, I didn't steal nothing.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to buy this because you just said this is you, and I was literally told to look out for this person.
If it came up missing, yeah, I probably.
Okay. So I'll send you on your way.
Yeah, I ain't stealing
Give
nothing.
you a 20-second head start.
Huh?
20-second head start, because I do got to call the cops.
Call the cops.
I have to. He just hightailed it out of here, so he definitely, yeah, it was definitely stolen. St. Louis Park Police are here, little Crime Stopper. They basically said there's nothing they can do even if they catch him, because this other person didn't register the serial number as being stolen. Hopefully they can nail this guy, because I have no tolerance for this. Well, I actually got an update already. It's the next day, and that person has been arrested. So what happened was that person allegedly was at a different shop, and there were some coins that were there that were dropped off to be appraised. That 1924 St. Gaudens was one of them. Now, the other shop owner obviously hadn't paid for them. It was somebody else's merchandise, and this person allegedly just snatched it and walked out, and this person, again, allegedly, had been going in there, like, casing the place, like, talking the owner's ear off, and set off the owner's vibes that I talk about all the time of, like, it seems like this person's trying to distract me. So they saw an opportunity, and they took it. Now, the other shop owner, when I called them, they got the date wrong on that coin. They thought it was a 28. It was a 24. It was the same coin. The other shop owner had not even registered that item as stolen because they had just gotten it in. They didn't even take a picture of it. The other customer didn't take a picture of it. So when I busted them, because for a second I thought maybe I am making a mistake here, and they denied it. Of course they denied it. But I'm looking at the picture, and it's like, you're wearing the exact same clothes as this picture that I have here. And I asked the guy, and he said that was him. And I'm like, well, you stole this. So he went running out of here. I called 911, and then I called the other shop owner, and police pulled him over shortly after I called 911. And because I was able to take a picture with my phone of that and validate, we got the serial number, everything. The guy claimed it was a big mulligan. I guess his mother went into this other coin shop and tried to say that he found it and it was all this big mistake. I mean, the guy, it's bull. The guy's getting charged with a crime. It's a felony charge. So I don't know what's gonna happen now. I'm not gonna follow up because I don't care. But yeah, don't steal. I will utilize my audience and my technology as best as I can to catch thieves like this. So when they come in here, it's great content, and it's the finding out part with around. At least we have a happy conclusion to the story, and I usually don't have an update this fast, but cool. We caught a bad guy. Once again, you guys, I want to thank our episode sponsor, Bong Water Beverage Company. Bong Water is a THC-infused drink designed to hit you fast, available in a variety of different flavors and options, gluten-free, sugar-free. I personally like the Lit Lemon and the Mellow Melon. They're available in Minnesota, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, parts of Texas, parts of Wisconsin. Check out and see if they are coming to your state soon. Visit bongwaterbeverageco.com. Try their product, and if you guys do try their product, please send them an email and let them know that I turned you on to it, because I have no way of tracking how many sales I'm generating, but they're treating me very well. They're an excellent product. Bong Water Beverage Company. And with this, you guys, I want to thank one more person, my follower on Whatnot, Douglas, who purchased this topic. I auctioned it off. It went for I sent him a signed copy of my book. I think I went for like 40 bucks or something. And I'm gonna be doing more of these, you guys, auctioning off topics. So if you are interested in choosing what I do, you can head to my Whatnot auctions. There's a link in the video description. If you don't have Whatnot, download it with my special promo code. You get a free $15 off your first purchase. It comes off automatically. So if you want to pick what we're talking about, head on by to Whatnot. And I do need to add a disclaimer. I have the right to veto if you buy it and you're just trying to troll me. I'm going to give you 3 tries. And then after 3, I'm going to just say, tell you what, I'm going to do a little charity donation and I'm going to pick it and everyone's happy. So Douglas picked the history of bullion. Privately owned bullion. Why do we hoard bullion? Where does it come from? Why do we even give a shit about precious metals? Who started this? They've been a staple of our culture for a very long time, a recognized store of wealth and power and prestige. And likely, the first traces of gold were found as nuggets in rivers. And because gold is so soft, its natural malleability made it very appealing for artisan works such as jewelry, coins, other various artifacts. It also became synonymous not just with wealth and power, but immortality. A whole bunch of cultural superstitions began to grow into this growing community of the recognized store of wealth that is mainly gold, but silver and platinum too. In fact, an ancient Chinese tradition is giving gold for a wedding. This culture, this staple, this continues to today. One of my best friends got married last year. I was her maid of honor. Oh my God, it was so much fun going to that bachelorette party. But I gave her and her husband a ½ ounce of gold. And the gold I wrote, "For tomorrow, love is forever." Isn't that cute? That notion that I made is a cultural staple. And it goes back pretty far in human history. Another tradition of passing gold is just as an heirloom. You know, it's a gold item. It's been in the family forever. Pulp Fiction, my favorite movie. The scene with Butch and the whole crazy that he goes through to retrieve his father's gold watch. And he had to get that gold watch back. That was an heirloom that had been passed down. So again, this idea, this notion of passing down precious metals, huge part of our culture. And it's a culture that knows no borders too. Just to give you one more example, in Hinduism, gold is synonymous with the gods. This goes on and on. It's religious, it's a social staple, it's an economic staple. Where we recognize gold with royalty, you could probably say it starts with ancient Egypt. The pharaohs, if you've ever seen their tombs, they're ordained in gold. They wore quite a lot of gold, and the people beneath them, not so much or not at all. The same is true into ancient Greece and Rome. This idea of gold, because it was so, not commonplace, but so many different cultures used it. Very much like how so many different cultures have dragons, gold is the same thing too. Now, like gold, silver also became a recognized staple. The first forms of silver were found in the Antigola region near what is modern-day Turkey, and here we get some of the earliest forms of silver mining. And as technology gets better and global commerce gets more advanced, we start to see trade across the oceans. Well, I wouldn't call it trade, I'd call it colonialism. The Spanish coming into South and Latin America, there were incredible gold and silver reserves and the induction of platinum as well. When these major empires would find huge gold reserves, it would be a massive boost to their economies. The Spanish were in charge of the world for a couple hundred years, and it was because of the massive amounts of gold that they hoarded in their colonial expansions. Platinum was used by pre-Columbian Americans near Ecuador to make artifacts, and this is how the Spanish got into platinum, and largely platinum spread throughout the world because of this. Now, stepping back a little bit from colonialism in medieval times, this is where we start to get the rise of individuals holding large amounts of gold, and this being recognized as a store of wealth. Kings and rulers and pharaohs, things like that, they obviously had lots of gold, but it wasn't until medieval times that lords began to accumulate large hoards of gold, and this is where the culture of passing it down, generational wealth, really starts to take off. On top of that, toward the end of the medieval period, into Renaissance Europe, we get the rise of banking, the banking families, the banking oligarchs, and they're doing all their banking, they're backing it through precious metals. This measure of wealth through precious metals and other things like land, this is kind of where you start to get economic standards that we recognize today. You know, now we have the gold standard, and the idea of this notion was put in place around this time period. Now, as far as modern gold hoarding goes, the consumption of modern gold, how we use it, how we recognize it, the 1800s is where the modern era of it really starts to take form. And this begins with these discoveries through expansionism of vast amounts of gold, such as the gold rush in America. And these discoveries of gold and silver reserves also is what gives the modern America a lot of its power. You know, we have Fort Knox. How much gold is in Fort Knox? Nobody knows, but you get this idea of a nation having a lot of gold and just an insane amount through these rushes such as the American Gold Rush. And obviously, this accumulation of wealth for a country would make a huge impact into the 20th century with the world wars. Now, with these gold rushes, you don't just have countries that are getting mega wealthy, you have individuals going out to strike it rich, and when they find it, they are solidifying their wealth for generations. Starting in the 1800s, you also have advances in metallurgy. You have precious metals being used in industrial purposes, thus not only facilitating their need and their price and making it go up, but making it more recognizable and again just solidifying why we need it, why we care about it. Gold and silver are the oldest forms of money outside of sex, but now you have so many different applications, you have so much culture backed into these things that it's never gonna go away. And we'll talk about where I think it's going at the end of this. Some other aspects that gold and silver were used for starting in the 19th century: dentistry, medicine, photography, conductivity. Gold and silver are excellent conducts of electricity. And of course, I forgot to mention coins, which started around 600 BC in the Kingdom of Lydia, and obviously coins became how we run economies. One of the most fundamental things of having society is having an economy. Gold and silver and the coinage that they became staples of economics for societies just going forward. We still use them to today. Now, the 20th century is where things get really interesting. You have both world wars, you have the induction of gold standards, you have a lot of different governmental bureaucracy factors trying to police, trying to enforce, creating new rules, taking them away, taking away individuals' private rights, reinstating them. Germany went off the gold standard at the very start of World War I, and obviously not only did they lose, but by doing this, they ruined their economy, and they made it so hard to recover, and it largely gave rise to the Nazis because they had such a cluster after the war, not just because they lost, but because they had no standard of wealth, they owed so much money. And to be fair, I'm simplifying it. There was a lot of reasons why we had World War II. We had Japanese aggression, but the angst of the German economy is what fueled the public's hatred of the world around them, and obviously there's a lot of scapegoating going on. It gave rise to Hitler. It really did. There are also some legal confiscations that started. For example, in America, we've talked about this before. FDR's Order 6102 in 1933 made it illegal for private citizens to have gold, or to have more than just a very, very small amount now. The United States did this to rein in the Great Depression and to fix the economy. This was an extreme act that was taken to balance what was one of the greatest shocks to the global economy of all time. Now, we've had worse shocks since, but this was unprecedented back then. So this is part of why all the gold was confiscated. Now, World War II had a massive impact in the use of gold, the standardization of gold, the private hoarding of gold, the price of gold. And I'm saying gold, not silver and platinum. I mean, these count too, but gold is the number one standard. It is the crown of precious metal. It is always viewed as on top, as the most reliable, as the thing that people are most concerned about. We don't have the silver standard, we have the gold standard. Now, arguably the most significant event to take place in the face of precious metals, the price and the standardization, was the 1944 Bretton Woods Conference. This was also known as the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference. It was headed by the Allies, and it took place in July of 1944 at the Mount Washington Hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Delegates from 44 Allied nations attended. The goal was to create a post-World War II international monetary standard to prevent the rise of extremism due to countries just being ruined from this war, to standardize precious metals, and basically to create a global construct of an economy that was fixed. The UK and the United States, they were the main players, and this conference led to the creation of two international monetary constructs. You got the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and you also got the World Bank. The IMF's job was to maintain stabilization of economies through precious metals, largely gold, and to bail out countries facing payment problems because they all knew that Germany and Japan were going to have quite a debt to pay. The World Bank was created to reconstruct these war-torn places and to deal with any countries that were war-torn going forward so that, again, we don't get things like Nazi Germany. The Bretton Woods system established a fixed rate for gold. They pegged it at $35 per ounce, which adjusted for inflation is roughly $605 per ounce. The system made the US dollar the primary form of world currency, and it was backed by gold. This is the gold standard. Now, it was mandated that countries, particularly the United States, had to have gold reserves so that it didn't become this crazy fiat where it's just paper that means nothing, because then we get right back where we started. Also, by pegging gold at a fixed standard, you're preventing massive inflation, you're preventing market volatility, you're standardizing everything so that you don't have extreme pockets of price gouging or all kinds of other economic woes that can go wrong if you don't have any regulations or rules in place. Now, in 1971, this all went kaput with Nixon. He took us off the gold standard. We had what was known as the Nixon shock, and this created volatility within gold like never before. And we continue to see the effects of the Nixon shock to this day. Gold was considered and still is a safe haven. It's not considered an asset with a lot of volatility, but by removing the United States from the gold standard, you simply are injecting fiat currency into it backed by the might of, well, Honestly, what it boils down to is we got the nukes. Don't with us. Now, as far as the modern hoarding of gold privately and silver and platinum and individual rights, totalitarian countries crack down on it. North Korea is a good example. They are monitoring who's got gold because gold, if you have a lot of it, it gives you a lot of individual power. Other countries have weird ways of enforcing this against their citizens. Example, it's state by state, but a lot of states will tax you on precious metals if you're going to buy it. If I go to ship gold and silver to countries in Europe, there's a huge import tax that they put on people. So these taxations by governments, this is the way of limiting how people can hold gold, or at least trying to dissuade them, because like I said, gold does give you individual power. So in conclusion, precious metals have long been considered a staple of our culture, of wealth. They facilitated our economy from the early ages to today. Gold, silver, platinum, precious metals, they've long been seen as not just a staple of wealth, of generational wealth, of wealth that will never go away, but as a safe haven to park your money against radical things like inflation. We are living in radical times. We're seeing things like we've never seen in human history with the advent of technology and communication and global cooperation and commerce. And in short, it's not a bad idea to hold precious metals. This is what I preach, and I practice what I preach, you guys. I personally hold quite a lot because it is a more stable form of wealth. This ain't crypto. It's not going to triple overnight. Silver's not going to hit $500 an ounce. Anybody that comes in here and says that's what they think is going to happen and soon has no idea how economies work and is a moron. I've heard this before from numerous customers. I have one very good customer I see a lot, and he was the first person I heard this from. The 3 B's in the face of disaster: booze, bullets, bullion. I go as far as to say booty. These are not going to go away. What is going to make them go away will destroy precious metals ultimately as a rare, expensive thing is space mining. And that is probably, in my opinion, about 100 years away. But when that happens, because precious metals are quite common in outer space, precious metals will not be as rare as they are today. Will they ever be worthless? Absolutely not. They have a lot of practical purposes. But that's just my prediction for the future going forward. And that, you guys, is the history of owning gold and silver and the economies of it. Well, once again, you guys, I want to thank our episode sponsor, Bong Water Beverage Company. Check them out if you're in Minnesota, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, parts of Texas, parts of Wisconsin. Visit bongwaterbeverageco.com. There's a link in the video description. Gluten-free options, sugar-free options. Hits you in about 10 minutes. It's good stuff. And if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my books on Amazon. Visit pawnmanstore.com. Join the Pawn Man Bullion Club. Help spread the word of Pawn Man across social media. Check out my Whatnot auction. Again, if you don't have Whatnot, download it with my code. That link in the video description will take you to it. It's live auctions. I auctioned off this topic, and you too can buy one of my topics. It comes with a signed copy of one of my books. So check that out, guys, in the links in the video description below, and I'll see you back here for another great Pawn Man. Later, guys.